of Ayer Finance Committee meeting on Thursday, March 6, 2025 at Ayer Town Hall. This is a hybrid meeting. My name is Kurt Preskowski. I'm the chairman. This meeting of the Finance Committee will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID 978-772-8220 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.mass.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100, prior to the meeting. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. How's it? So, first item on the agenda is we've got two sets of minutes to approve from our February 12th meeting and the February 20th meeting. So we've got copies of both meeting minutes. Do you have any addition, changes, corrections?
I have a correction. On the 12th, the very last word is missing a colon between 7 and the 24.
Oh, because I never put colons when I do time.
What? There was a colon in the other one, I swear.
Was there? Oh, yeah, there is. Called to order. I have one there, called to order.
Yeah.
And actually on the first page of that, on the last sentence is agenda item, town administration FY26, proposed budget presentation. There's an S in there.
I saw that. I didn't want to point out. I felt like Eric worked so hard. So I was going to suggest you have a spell checker.
No, yeah, I type.
Run the spell checkers.
It does catch things, but sometimes if it's not actually misspelled, it doesn't think it's wrong. It's just grammatically wrong. It doesn't catch it.
Yeah, this is not good. There's a spelling. So like presentation, there's a missing an R there.
Okay, so there's some corrections to the 12th. What about the 20th? Or
I didn't find any errors in this one.
Eric, didn't you say there was one on Chief?
I had Chief Johnston's name spelled wrong.
Okay, so on the
An
20th.
N.
Okay, so I will make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes for the meetings from the February 12th and February 20th.
I will second. Why not?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Okay. Next item on the agenda are outside committee updates, capital planning. There was no meeting the last few weeks. Rate review, the same thing. I will mention, and we're going to touch on this when we go to schedule next meeting, is on the 18th, there will be a public hearing on the FY26 water, sewer, and stormwater rates, so that which were determined through the previous rate review committees.
I'm sorry, what date was that?
The 18th, and we'll touch on that when we go to schedule next meetings. I've got a whole list of all our upcoming meetings that we. So okay, so that is that. Next item is the presentation. Tonight's presentation is on the Department of Public Works. Dan?
Hey, good evening, Mr. Chair and committee.
Welcome, Dan.
Thanks. Yeah, so I put together a brief presentation, very similar to last year, but I just stuck with the budget this time and got rid of all the other slides, so it should be quicker. We can go to the next slide.
It's
please.
small.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it has a lag. All right, there we go. Okay, so DPW, as you know, there's several divisions within DPW, so let's go through the administration budget. And in this budget here, and this is a common theme throughout, the salary and wages, those are still being worked on and vetted, and it's based on the contracts we have with different personnel, and so those will be updated, and you'll see that throughout the different budgets. DPW admin utilities, so proposed change there is a negative change, but really what I'm doing is I'm moving a lot of that to the highway because the admin building and the highway building are in the same vicinity, and the highway building is really what's using most of this power in the utilities and the gas. So I'm just moving that budget it's kind of a cleanup.
So we'll see that on the
Yeah.
the highway slide.
I'm trying to read my notes.
Yeah.
You will. You'll see an increase on the
Except that
highway.
the amount that increase in the highway is less than the amount that's decreasing in the.
Yeah. And I did reduce the budget slightly to $2,625. And what we did was, over the last couple years, our energy rates had changed, and it was kind of uncertain as to how much it would impact us, so we budgeted conservatively. And so the impacts haven't been as bad, so I'm lowering that down. I worked with Chuck, the facilities director, to understand what the rates are. So that's essentially the changes for the admin budget, otherwise remaining level funded. Except,
I have a question.
here. Oh, go ahead.
So you have a 4.6% increase, and you said that's not settled yet. So is that just a placeholder?
Yeah, that's a placeholder. So yeah, that's not settled yet. And sorry, I did miss the supplies item. It's not showing up on the. Oh, we're on highway. Sorry. So I did add for the supplies $2,500, and this is for we have a punch clock system for the union staff, and so we need to replace those punch clocks at our various facilities, and we have a quote. It's $10,000. So I divided that between 4 different budgets. So that's what that $2,500 increase is. That'll be just for this year. Sorry, so on to the highway budget.
Actually, question.
Yeah.
Punch clock system as in?
No, well,
card and-
it is, yeah, essentially that, but nowadays it's like a handprint.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah,
I
a
was
hand
gonna say,
scanner.
should we look at something more technology forward, but
Yeah.
we have, okay.
Yeah, we do, yeah. I don't even
So
know if
this
they
is
sell them
as-
anymore.
As crews go around various sites, they check in sort of?
No, so it's every day. So our union staff, it's a union, there's a contract. They have to be on time at 7 a.m., punch in, and then when they leave for the day at 3:30, they have to put their hand down and punch out at the
Oh,
clock
okay.
system. So it's for
Right.
tracking time and.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
So it's,
Yeah, no,
part
I
of
was
our
just
union
curious. I was like, if crew members had to go from this facility, it was a way to check in if they were in.
no.
Okay. Never mind.
Okay. So highway, so similarly with the wages and overtime and the clothing reimbursement, so those, we recently signed a memorandum of agreement with the DPW union. Their contract was expiring at the end of this fiscal year, so at June 30th. So the changes from that agreement will be updated and reflected in the next budget. I didn't have it in this status update here, so there'll be some increases there for those top 3 that are in yellow. The other, we got the highway utilities, that's the 15,000 I just moved from admin and put it into highway. We've been expending it from there. And then we do have DPW highway line painting. So I increased that budget slightly. The low bid last April was just over $30,000, so I expect that to increase slightly, so I put in an escalation there. And that's essentially it. I'm not doing a lot with the budgets this year, so that's summary on highway.
So back on the utilities, I was at the municipal aggregation for the electrical rates yesterday, hearing, and it just never occurred to me that those savings that we're gonna get through municipal aggregation affects your utility bills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
We're gonna pay less for electricity.
right, yeah, you know, and especially with our water and our sewer, they are the biggest energy hogs with all the pumps we have. So, you know, even a small change in any rate that we pay can make a significant impact, so, you know, it wouldn't be as bad here, highway, it's, right, but, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just
Especially
somebody had
electric.
mentioned it.
Yeah.
Because you're just so, this is for the citizens and then somebody goes, well, this is for commercial and all the town facilities.
Yeah, and Chuck, the facilities director, he does look at all our options and we always, you know, look for the best one. Okay, so equipment repair division, this is our shop, our mechanic. So the budget there, I'm leaving the same. We will need to update the wages for the contract negotiation, and we still do have a vacancy in that position, and we're looking at some options to fill that. But I didn't see any need to make any changes to the budget based on our trending. So, no change there. Next one, snow removal operating budget. So the values here are pretty good when we look at the trends and what's going on. I did lower the snow removal, the salt and sand, and this is based on recent trends, and I did a calculation. The costs had gone up after COVID, after the Russia war in Ukraine. We had seen an increase, it's come back down, and based on my calculations and recent trends, we don't need to be budgeting as high as 144,000. We could go down to 135, and it's still conservative. We should spend less than that. Obviously, winter season can throw a lot of variables into that, but you know, it still should cover us. I don't see any issues. That's snow removal. Okay, street lighting. So with street lighting, I did a little cleanup here, similar to what I did with the admin and highway. So I'm going to eliminate the line item that says repair and maintenance. It's essentially the same as services, and it's more for my tracking and accounting's tracking of the work we're doing and being able to trend that work. So, you know, anytime we're doing repair and maintenance, it is a service, and I'm just going to consolidate that to one line item, services, just like all our other budgets. And then I did slightly lower the police details. We haven't been using anywhere near up to the 4,000 per year, so I lowered that down to 3,000. So a small decrease to that budget. We're looking for savings this year. Fuel budget, next budget. So plan here is to level fund. I did look at future fuel trends. And they are anticipated the prices to go down within the next year. Now, there's a lot of uncertainty going on in the world, especially now, but I think I don't see any flags that would cause me to make any changes to raise it or to lower it. I think staying at the status quo is appropriate for now. Ready to go to the next? Cemetery budget. So for this budget, and shown here, and Robert will give an update on this later. So we're recently going through the process with the DPW union. We're going to take on more work in-house. So I'm going to be able to actually lower the services budget. On here, I'm showing an increase of 2,000, but really we can now decrease that by 2,000. So instead of the $34,000 ask, it's going to be a $30,000 ask. And so we'll be doing in-house, we'll be doing excavation of graves and some more of the operations work with our highway division. So some savings to the town there. We'll still contract out the maintenance of the lawns, lawn care, grubbing, and all the maintenance of the yard there. So tree warden. So on this budget as well, kind of looking for some savings. In the services, that's really where we have our biggest line item. That's where we're doing tree removals, tree pruning. So a couple years ago, we had a plan put together where a company, certified arborist consultant, went out, Davy Resource Group's actually shown on here, and did an inventory of all the trees in Ayer that are public shade trees, so publicly owned trees. And we've gone through the high priority removals and removed those. And by the end of this fiscal year, we'll have removed all the moderate priority trees and some of the low priority. So we've really hit the low hanging fruit. So now we're going to be getting into more of an operation and maintenance type of a approach, a proactive approach where we're pruning and doing things like that for tree health. So, I kind of probably need a year to sort of get that offline anyway. So we're going to reduce that budget. And right here, I'm showing 50,000 and actually working with Robert just for some savings. And because we're going to spend some time making sure that this service is lined up nicely, our operation is lined up, we're going to lower that to 45,000 for the ask. So there'll be a $10,000 decrease in the services just for the fiscal year 26.
Quick question, Dan. Is
Yeah.
this standard inventory and plan online somewhere?
I can't remember if it's posted, but it is something we could put up on our website.
Okay.
There is a public facing version. Yeah, let me remember that. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, so that's tree warden budget. All right, so that was all of the omnibus budget, the general fund budgets. So now we're getting into enterprise.
No, you said that from the beginning, the administration budget, that you were going to spread out the 10,000 in 4 different places. And
Yeah.
I only saw the 2,500 in the first one. Where would the rest?
It's the rest will be in water,
Oh, it will be in the
wastewater, and
enterprise.
solid
Oh,
waste.
okay.
The other,
Okay.
and yeah, those other divisions, which are part of the unions, are part of. The union is a part of. So for the water enterprise budget, so kind of going line by line, I did note in here it's in progress. Some of the wages, salary, overtime. That's what the changes from the new union contract, which just got signed, the MOA for that. So looking at the water services budget, so let me just get a hold of my notes here so I get it all right. So one thing happening this year is the town has had an agreement with the U.S. Army for operation and maintenance of our PFAS treatment plant. And this fiscal year, FY25, that we're in now, is the final year of the O&M portion of that agreement. So the town now is going to be taking on any costs that were part of that O&M. So that includes bag filters. We have to change out bag filters periodically. There's chemicals, zinc orthophosphate, calcium thiosulfate that we use as part of the PFAS process. And kind of any other things. There's samples we have to take, for PFAS that we've been charging to the Army grant. Now it's going to come to the town. So those operation expenses are now being shown in this budget. So that's a big part of the increase to services. We also have seen an increase. Let's see. We have to do some more for our cross connection regulatory compliance. We did an increase of $5,000. We need to do additional survey this year. So those are the kind of the big drivers in the increases we're proposing in the in the services budget line item. The next line item with a change is the water fund supplies. And that one also is a significant increase. And this one also is driven by the O&M that we're having to take on, that the Army grant no longer is covering the cost of. And you can see some of it in there, and also the DPW union punch clock, 2,500 to that. And we have seen a significant increase over the past few years in our supply costs. A hydrant we used to be able to get for just over $1,000, and now they cost like 4 times that, for example. So pipe as well has been significantly higher. There's other supplies too. So we really are increasing that budget a large amount in this fiscal year 26. Then the next line item with an increase, and this one we'll know a little more pretty soon. So right now it's the water chemicals line item. So every year it goes out to bid through a consortium. So, several of the municipalities and water districts in Massachusetts go out to bid for chemicals. And we'll get the results of that early this month, and we'll have a better number there for any increase we might need. And this also, the Army grant is expiring, so we're taking on chemicals I mentioned. Okay, let's see, water other expenses. $5,333 increase. What that's for is there's an upgrade needed for, we call it CUSI, C-U-S-I. That's our water and sewer billing software. So we're gonna divide that between water, sewer, and also stormwater, because that is now an enterprise fund, which the billing will go through. So that's the increase for that. And then as you get further down, you get into the indirect cost reimbursement and line items below that. Those are really, the finance manager inputs those items. So those are still in progress. I imagine in the next round of the budget that's presented, those will be finalized. Those are the changes ongoing in water.
Transfer to capital projects.
Yeah, why did that go up?
Which one?
The last one, I guess second, transfer to capital projects. What are those?
So I think I'd have to defer to Barbara, but certain projects, she will put in the operating budget, certain ones that are going for capital at town meeting, and put them into here rather than having them as standalone capital items and fund them directly from the budget. It's called like a pay-go. We fund it right from the budget. And I can't remember which projects those are anticipated to be, but that will be finalized in the future budget report. Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
So with the, given that we have the enterprise, what we get off that isn't enough to offset the capital? I'm going with this in that, will we expect similar things with the stormwater enterprise as we move forward? That it's not enough to offset the work that needs to be done and we'll need to
Oh, so like,
contribute?
so I'm trying to, instead of debting the project, is that what you're saying? Or?
Yeah.
Because here there's debt and then
Yeah.
interest and principal, which imply that the cost there was from issuing bonds. So,
Yep,
so,
that's exactly what
yeah,
that is. That's
so
from
that-
prior years.
yeah,
carrying
so it's
over.
probably like the town issuing bonds for a certain amount, and then they
Yeah.
allocate a portion of it to you, right? So that's probably.
Yeah.
So.
And the transfer to capital, those are just smaller projects that
Yeah, yeah.
we're gonna fund directly from our basically the savings of
That's what
water.
it was.
And so that 240,000 will be funded directly from the budget instead of borrowing. We
Debt,
won't borrow for
Yeah,
it.
from the bonds, yeah, yeah.
So, I think, I don't know if you recall, Robert, how much is in the water fund. I don't have it with me, but
Oh,
it's 3 or 4 million, I wanna say.
it's about 4 million.
Yeah. And the rate review committee has looked at this, oh yeah, Bob, right, so,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
actually that was what I was gonna ask, was that, so how much do you get in terms of like revenue from your billing of all the, water? Like, how much do they kind of more or less match or? Because that's what the rate review is supposed to do, right? To make sure that
right.
you charge the water.
Yeah, so I don't have it with me, but, Bob has it. But the rate review committee, so we charge the rate so that, so that your revenue is higher than your expenses, so then you can build up your savings.
Yeah.
And so that's what we look at every year, different scenarios based on, and we look at our existing water consumption, the demand, the revenues coming in. And then we look at our future expenses, the capital expenses, the next 5 to 10 years, the operating budget expenses, and then we put it all in a model.
So aren't we, as I remember from rate review, maybe it has we're taking for capital expenditure, we're not for capital expenditures per se, but we're taking some money from the water enterprise reserve funds. And that's sort of what
That's correct.
that 200 to 190,000 on here is referring to.
That would come from the, yeah, the reserve funds,
Right.
right? Anything in here comes from the water budget. So I think we try to pay from our annual revenues, the water budget, as long as everything's good. And that's how we develop the rates every year. We anticipate to make this much revenue, 3.5 million, and the
I see.
budget's 3 million.
Okay.
And then as long as revenues go right, then we're okay. If revenues are, say, lower than the 3 million we have in the FY26 request, then we would have to do like a reserve fund transfer at the end of the year, use some of the water savings to fill in that gap.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Wasn't the big capital purchase from last year the water tank?
The big capital purchase,
Yeah, for the water.
the painting. So there's the water tank painting.
And a storage tank for the,
Um,
was that last year?
Oh, the Clearwell tank. Okay, yeah. So the Clearwell storage tank.
Yeah.
That's the project at Grove Pond. Right, yeah, so Grove Pond Water Treatment Plant, the PFAS treatment filters have created a restriction. We can't pump as much water through treatment as we used to be able to. So we have to install the Clearwell storage tank just downstream of there. That project is going to construction. We have a pre-construction meeting next week. We have a contractor on board. It's all being funded by the Army, so it's not even included in these rates, thankfully. It's just over a $4 million project. So,
We like that.
yeah.
So just to sort of summarize, as we look at this water enterprise and the next few enterprise funds,
Yep.
this has also been addressed by the rate review committee, the setting of rates for next
Right,
year.
yeah, this budget, this is what we factored into our modeling with the rate review committee.
Thank you, Dan.
Wastewater. Okay, so for the wastewater, similar for the first few line items that are related to wages, overtime, clothing, those are part of the union contract and they'll be updated. Sewer fund services, get my notes. We're just gonna increase that 10,000. We've had trending and cost increase needed for our services at the wastewater plant and our ancillary facilities. Next line item with an increase is Devon Services, sewer Devon Services. So the town has an agreement with Devon's to be able to send flow from our divert flow instead of going to the town of Ayer's wastewater treatment plant to Devon's. And it's required by regulation, by the regulators, to have that excess capacity at Devon's. So we have a minimum flow we have to send to them, but we also, at times, when we have issues or we have a lot of infiltration inflow, so when we get rainwater and groundwater entering our system, we can get high flows to our plant, we'll divert to Devon's. So we did have a high expense last year in FY24, you can see in the comments, and trending. So we're going to increase, we want to increase the budget here, proposed increase. To be conservative, and what we do know we will need to divert some flows when we're doing our treatment plant upgrades. We have an aeration tank upgrade coming up as part of our big wastewater treatment plant improvements. So those are drivers to increase that budget line item. The sewer sludge removal, the next line item, we propose an increase there of $25,000 to $300,000. So sometimes we have operation reasons to waste more. So basically we have to create more sludge and then we have to send that off site. It gets shipped and hauled down to a facility in Cranston, Rhode Island. So those are kind of your solids that you no longer can use as part of the biological process. And there is a note Kimberly left in here, still much less than past due to GBT. What the GBT is, it's our gravity belt thickener, and we installed it as part of our last plant upgrade just over a year ago. And it thickens the sludge, so we don't have to haul as many times down to Cranston, Rhode Island. So it saves a cost prior to having the GBT, our budget was usually 400,000 in this line item. So now we are proposing this year to have it at 300,000. The next line item with an increase is supplies. This is again with we've seen in water as well, recent cost and supplies, and also for the punch clock here to divide between admin, water, sewer, solid waste. Then in sewer chemicals, showing a reduction there at $10,000, and that's just based on our usage and our trends. We are comfortable with lowering that line item. And then again, you do see that just this year there'll be an upgrade to our water sewer billing software, Kuzi, $5,333, and our other charges. And then we get kind of down into the indirect costs and so forth, which the finance manager puts those together. I have a little bit of input with her, but she really recommends those values and calculates some of them, yep, most of them. So that's summary of sewer. Grab my water.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if either you or Bob can answer this, or if this is just a strictly Barbara thing. So both the interest and principal have gone up. Is that because of, say, new projects that have hit, or is Barbara just trying to advance pay on the debt that we already have?
I could speculate. We'd have to ask her. I think it's new projects. We have the $4 million wastewater upgrade. I'm sure that's a big driver there. So that's what I would presume. Yeah.
Actually, Eric, I just added a note to send Barbara an email and just ask her on the enterprise funds, the interest and principal increases, are they due to recent borrowing?
Which it should be.
Yeah, so we'll get a confirmation of that.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Solid waste enterprise operating budget. Not much in changes here. Similarly, the first few line items related to the employees, wages, overtime, clothing, those will be changed in accordance with the MOA with the union. Recommending an increase for solid waste removal, so that's our trash removal and hauling, to $105,000. We do have one more year in our current agreement, which I am going to look at when that's due up at the end of June to see if there's anywhere we can save. Last year we spent $107,000 in this line item, so bumping that one up slightly. Otherwise, recycling removal has been down over the last few years, but not much lower than the $77,000 line item that's budgeted for recycling removal, so let's level fund that. And then we do have the $2,500 for the union punch clock. And then we get down into the indirect costs. And debt interest, debt principal, et cetera.
So would we anticipate the solid waste removal possibly going up significantly the following fiscal year, if it's like a new contract? Is that-
Yeah, it depends. It's so we bid it, so we'll find out. It depends on the markets and climate at the time as well. I did actually have a call today with another vendor who supplies this service interested in helping us out. So I said, hey, so I'm working with him, and potentially instead of just having an amendment with our current contract, I might go out to bid this year to see what happens. But I gotta put some more thought and make sure that makes sense to go out to bid now.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, potentially it could go up again next fiscal year, not this one.
Is there a short-term need for any capital improvements there?
We just did a paving of a poor area, and I know we're gonna be getting a vehicle soon. That was in our capital without going through all the capital. But I don't have anything else in the 5-year at this time, but Okay. And there's a hand up. I don't know if you want to answer or.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Sarah, do you have a question?
I can wait, I'm sorry, I was just kind of, I can wait.
Okay, yeah, let us finish up Dan's presentation and then we'll circle back to your question or other questions. Okay, Sarah? Okay.
All right, cool. So Stormwater Enterprise Fund, as you're all aware, this is the first year of this fund. It was approved at the fall town meeting last year. And so the fund, Stormwater used to be funded out of the general fund. It's pulled out of there and now it's in an enterprise fund, and this is the operating budget proposed. Basically took out what we had from the budget in the general fund, the work of the work group, which included, here's what our operating expenses are gonna be, here's our capital expenses, and we set the rate of $95 per ERU for the year. So this reflects that in this budget. The services item is the largest here. We have MS4, we have annual catch basin cleaning in there. We do minor drain repairs and catch basin repairs and our maintenance of our stormwater systems. We also hire consultants out of here where needed, especially to meet our MS4 permit. What other line item? So we do have the koozie upgrade in here, $5,333. That's a 1-year item, so that's for the billing software. But otherwise, it's pretty status quo compared to what it used to be out of the general fund. It's really, with stormwater, it's really capital are the big things, and then the operation and maintenance aren't as large of a cost. Well, I guess that's for every enterprise one, really.
And Robert, you may have some insight onto. So there's on the third from the bottom is stormwater capital. Is this how we're going to start funding the reserve fund? Would you know, Robert? In other words, under stormwater capital, so like on the other enterprise funds, that's all zero. And again, I don't know if this would show on the budget or not, but part of the idea with the stormwater is going forward, we're going to start building a reserve fund.
Yep. So this wouldn't be related to the reserve fund, that line item. You wouldn't see the reserve fund on here, although, the total budget's $247,000. And we expect the revenue to be around $700,000. So you're left with about, $450,000. And that'll be the beginnings of your reserve fund, your retained earnings.
Okay.
So I think this
is a true capital.
Yeah, I think this
line item.
capital is, but this is still in progress. I don't want to speak totally for Barbara, but she's pulling in prior year capital costs that are left over, especially when you get into debt interest and debt principal from the previous storm drain upgrades we did, culvert improvements.
Okay, but you hit the nail on the head though, is that this is, what we're looking at here is expenses. This is our budget.
Yeah.
But as you're saying is that we're expecting some 700,000 in revenue to cover these expenses of 247, and then that difference is what's going to start going into the stormwater enterprise reserve fund. And this is what we're going to be building up for future uses.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I didn't spend more, right? Every time we go to a town meeting, you're like, everything's falling apart, right? So if you've got an extra 450, like why not spend an extra 200,000 in there to start on some of the actual culvert?
So, we are this year. In capital, we have a $2.6 million ask for culvert improvement.
You're loading all of it into capital.
Yeah, but it gets, it gets reflected on here as a debt, so it's only going to be like the $46,000.
Yeah.
Right, but you're going to see that debt for every year for 20 years, right? So, so we can't borrow like that every year, but and we got to start to build up a reserve in case we have incidents that we need to address,
I was just trying to remember back to when we were talking last time about the enterprise fund. The beauty of the enterprise fund, right, is if you have a spare 100,000 and you just want to fix something, right, you could just go fix it.
Right. Yeah, and Yeah, so I mean, we have 2.6 million for culverts. I think we had another 230,000. This is capital for storm drains. So we're starting to go with the program, but.
Plus, we don't know how much money you'll actually get, right?
Yeah, I don't expect it to be significantly different than we thought. But yeah, it is the first year of it, right? So a little bit more, feel a little bit more uncertain, but we did go through the similar process. We do have a model, a rate model, for the stormwater system. So as part of the rate review committee, we're looking at that, projecting out 10 years. Okay, we can do a culvert year 1, then we can't do a culvert again until like year 5 or year 6. Otherwise, our revenues, our expenses start to get higher than our revenues just due to the significant costs. So.
Can you remind me which culvert was first?
So the one we got money for is Groton School Road. It's by the sewer pump station as you're heading out toward Groton, just north of Groton Shirley Road. So we've begun design on that already. We've done preliminary design. So the next step is to further design development, then get to permitting final design. The goal is to have that, bid next spring, but that's our aim. So that's what we.
As a side question, you're a PE, right?
Yeah.
Do you stamp the?
I don't stamp those. Those ones we have a consultant will do that, but small projects I would. Now Matt, the town engineer, he's a PE too. All the in-house designs he's usually stamping. Yeah.
Do you, for the solid waste enterprise fund, we're supposed to get some money from the recycled material, right? Do we get any income?
Yeah, we do. So like the metal pile, for example, yeah, we salvage that and we do get revenues for that.
So then the solid waste recycling removal is sort of like the difference between what you actually spend and then what you sell. Because I'm wondering, like, if the recycled stuff is worth anything.
And I think when I first started years ago, you could actually make money on recycling. So
Yeah,
our
I
zero
read
sort.
it's getting worse, right?
It was really bad for a while. I don't know if I have the trends with me, but I think we had a budget line item almost up to $100,000. It was 90,000 at least at one point. We were paying a lot to basically, dispose of recycling, bring it to the facility for them to process. And so like the monies we get though from like the metal pile, the salvage of that, those go as a revenue just to the retained earnings of solid waste. They don't, reflect any of the expenses we have for that given year. So that they'll just go directly into there and be reflected that way.
Now, is this kind of like a, single stream recycling a good idea? I felt like how does that compare to, say, where people, because years ago, people were asked to separate, different grades of plastic and metal in separate bins, and
Yeah.
I wonder if that's because I think the single stream thing, eventually, when you get to the sorting facility, they have to spend a lot of energy to sort it, right?
You're right, yeah.
So,
There's some percentage of those recyclables that don't end up getting recycled because the sorting facility isn't, it's not 100% efficient.
yeah,
It's not
I
gonna
also
get
think
everything,
that
right?
sometimes people throw junk into thing because it's single stream, and I think because I was at the dump last weekend, and then someone was like piece of wood and things
Oh, yeah.
right in there, yeah.
That shouldn't be going in there, right?
Yeah. So I wonder if it's actually separated, then there will be more conscientious. What this doesn't belong to any of those places, and you can't throw it in there.
So years ago, when the town did actually used to have sorting
Yeah,
areas
I remember that, yeah.
years ago before I was here. And the idea of going to the single stream was convenience and to get people to recycle more. Yeah, and so that was the idea, and just make it simple. And so that's kind of how it's been since. I know there's still some towns like Harvard that have it. You separate some of the materials.
Yeah, I heard of Groton is like that too.
Groton, yeah,
They said
they
that
have
it's
a
like
lot.
plastic, even like recycle 6 of 3 or 4. Like they even just plastic is separate. Because I think in the end you do have to separate it. You cannot just take all the plastic and reuse them together.
So the difficult thing is if we went to do that, we'd have to change some configurations up at the transfer station. We need to make areas for
Yeah, yeah,
sorting,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
so we'd have to look at kind of the cost of, that sort of upfront capital cost to make any changes up there. It doesn't pay off to do that. I haven't done anything like that.
I'm just wondering
Yeah.
that if, which one costs us more to actually haul the material away. So if you have separate bins for sorting the stuff, to sort them first, would that cost less? Because the hauler may say, that, oh, you know, oh, maybe you only have to pay the cost of the hauling service, but not the sorting service. Because I assume that now you have to pay not just haul away, but also at the end, whoever that sorts it. Is that
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a tonnage cost, yeah, so, right, so that, I really have to do an analysis, right, there's more, and, like, it's a good thought, like, we could, you'd have increased hauling, but now you've got everything already sorted, so is there savings there, right, from
Yeah.
certain facilities? If you just had your glass in one area, and you know, it'd probably be a savings with something like that.
Yeah, yeah, because I read that, you know, they said like somewhere in Texas, there's a sorting facility, like a 4-story high building, and then
Yeah.
this is, you know, like miles of conveyor belt, and then sort of like, you know, everything goes down, you know, but I feel like that thing itself is very energy intensive, so.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
And I wouldn't expect it to be the most efficient thing either, not
No.
just even from an energy, but how much doesn't get recycled.
Exactly, and then I just feel like maybe I think that some people are not patient enough to sort themselves, but I think a lot of us probably would be willing to. I don't know. I just thought that, you know, you just put a few bins there. Hopefully, you know, not cost too much. It might be, you know, cheaper. But I also think that it will make the homeowners to be more conscientious on what is recyclable, because I think that, you know, people, because they have to pay for the, you know, solid waste, you know, the bags, but the recyclable you don't have to pay. So I think that some people are just throwing garbage into the recyclables.
That's an enforcement thing
Yeah,
we have to be on
so-
top of.
Yeah, but the thing is, that guy, he's just one person, and you
Mhm.
know, he can't, you know, and also that will make him look bad if he tells someone, you can't throw this in. You know, usually it's only after people have already thrown it in, you know, can't chase after first.
I have a counterpoint for you, Jen.
Yeah.
If I have to sort all of my things,
Uh-huh.
I'm just gonna throw it in the trash and pay the extra $6 per 55
Oh,
gallon
really?
bag or whatever.
So people just don't want to sort it.
Well, plus there's extra labor costs in it too, right? If you have separate huts, they have to move things back and forth. Right now, they can hit the button and then change out the
Yeah, that would be more work, yeah.
labor's not free.
Yeah. So if you, I guess, the compressed thing. So yeah, you can compress the plastic, but and metal. So the plastic and metal would need in the old time, like I don't remember how many years ago, there wasn't any compressing thing. So like the place where you store metal cans, or just that, it was just a simple container. There was not.
I think you're
compressing.
overthinking it.
Sorry.
I think you're overthinking it.
Yeah. I just feel that because people say like recycled glass usually is worthless, and so especially like the brown glass, they probably cannot be used very much. And then the plastic, the thing is
But glass was like the most efficient recyclable. You got like the highest yield out of it.
No, but the people cannot use reuse glass very well. So the most efficient, I think the best value for recycled material is the cardboard. The cardboard you can go and turn that into paper. That's the most efficient.
That's true, and we do separate
And
that.
then the metal, the aluminum, if you recycle aluminum, you can melt them and reuse them. But the plastic, the different grades of plastic need to be separated because they cannot, you know, melt them all together. The different grades of plastic will have different properties. So then the, you know, glass, you know, I read a lot of places that they said that the glass is just to try to get out of the trash because it's kind of like a hazardous, you know. But it's very difficult to reuse glass. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's something to be made, we should keep that on the radar, Jen. I think this year is gonna be,
Yeah.
there's a lot, no, I just mean in general, I think in a year's time, there's gonna be a whole other look at recycling in countrywide, because of all the trying to be diplomatic here. Energy costs that are going to be addressed this year and various other
Yeah,
financial things.
I feel like young people are enlightened and they are, you know, they care about environment, they don't want to recycle.
I do care about the environment.
But you can't spare the 5 minutes.
It's true. But now they're moving to paper bags. Okay, here's the nice thing now. Now they're moving to paper bags throughout, which I'm totally with. I can stick like cans and all that stuff in the paper bags and just hum it all
Uh-huh.
in the thing, because the paper is recyclable, the cans are recyclable, the whatever,
Uh-huh.
and that
So
people
if,
just need to be better, right? Like the little like film things you get in your Amazon boxes that says
Yeah.
recycling on it.
Yeah.
Like you got to read the fine print. That's like only if you bring it to a special facility back to wherever.
Uh-huh.
Like you can't actually put that in the compactor.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's just bad messaging.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like you know, wish that this recycling thing isn't so kind of labor intensive and you know.
Well, I think it's a very good observation, and we should definitely keep it on the radar for next year. Because like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of factors sort of shift this year, and then we can look at it again next year. Because
Education. I think you're right, though. Right? But if you could tell people things like the plastic film and stuff don't go in the recycling thing, because they can't just sit there and like look at everything that people throw in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think they all sort of depend on how conscientious people are. So if everybody's a little more conscientious, they, you know.
But if you don't know, you don't know, right?
Yeah. Well. Anyway.
good now, good stuff. Okay. Anything else? I think we got everything on your presentation, Dan. I know we got a question on.
I have a lot of good. Want to make some comments for you guys' work. So, all the lights got changed. Like the stop signs now had the flashing lights, and they were wonderful. Because did you get a grant or something? Where did the money come for putting those on? Because I remember, like it was last year, you know, someone was complaining that the stop lights do not have the the flashing, stop sign. Only one place had a flashing light, and now I feel like they all had that. I also even wonder if the street sign. Did you change the street signs?
No, we haven't changed those. We added crosswalk signs throughout Main Street. They're just retro-reflective. They don't have lights, but you know, Central Ave.
The Central Ave.
Yeah, Central Ave we did.
And I feel like I saw some other even from Westford Road, that stop sign. I think also that is flashing out.
So right,
that's really nice.
we originally had there was two of them. We originally had that one at Westford Road, and there's one just past the transfer station as you head down the hill toward out of town. Those were originally at Central Ave when we first did the four-way stop, but during the day they weren't bright enough. So we ended up getting better ones over here at Central Ave, and then we're like, all right, where can we use these ones? And
put somewhere.
Yeah, that's what happened there.
I have another side question. Along these lines that Jin's talking about, Sandy Pond Road went from 20 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's your department, but I assume you guys hung the sign.
Yeah, it's a combination. Police and DPW and Select Board are the ones who ultimately set the traffic regulations. So way back in 2019, the state began allowing more, I guess, lenient rules with speed zoning. So we were allowed to set up, what happened was the town set up that area, Sandy Pond Beach, as a safety zone, and it allows you to drop the speed limit to 20 miles per hour. And so when we did the improvement project, we incorporated 20 miles per hour. Now there's certain requirements with that. It has to be like a quarter mile long. It's not a seasonal thing like the beach. You know, you'd probably just want to have 20 miles an hour right at the beach only during the summer or something, right? So after seeing it in action live, it was not working right. The speed limit was too low. It was probably actually more, it could have been more dangerous being too low. People are slowing way down, right? So, so evaluating it between us and police, and we went to the select board, and we changed it to a thickly settled district. So now it's 25. So you go from 35 to 30, then 25, and it sort of progresses as you get toward the beach. So that's the story. Yeah.
Sticking to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Sarah, you had a question?
Yes. Okay, so I was wondering where the water director's salary line is.
Yeah, you have the water fund salary and the sewer fund salary, those line items. That pay is split between water and sewer. So that, 66,000 in one of them, and
Okay.
68, yeah, yep,
They're both 60.
yep.
So I have two more questions, and I just have two more questions. So my second question is, how much money did the town bring in from the Route 2A work related to the sewer? Any yet?
This is the gas station you're asking about that was gonna
Yeah.
improve? So that project never moved forward. They didn't get everything together in time, to advance the project before Mass DOT paved it. So it's pretty much a dormant project, so I don't expect it to move forward anytime soon, if it ever does. So the town did not get any funding there. There was no project.
There was no sewer project?
Right.
The water work was what we saw the water work pipe being put in, right?
We
That was
did,
on Route 2A.
yeah, it was on Willow Road. We replaced the water main there because it was in very poor condition, and we didn't want to. We were having a couple of issues out there with breaks on the service lines, because it was corrosive. So we replaced the water main before they paved and finished the project.
Okay, I understand this enough. My last question is just when you're talking about the chemicals and the water budget, can you just like one thing I was reading last year about like how the Healy Driscoll administration gave out grants for like PFAS chemicals. There's like if you look online, there's like a July 2024 press release.
Okay.
Is this like, does this have to do with our budget that we're seeing?
So I think so the PFAS monies they gave out, I think were related to projects to address PFAS contamination. So the water chemicals, they're actually chemicals we, dose into the water, such as chlorine to kill bacteria, or we use potassium permanganate to oxidize the water to get the iron and manganese out through our filters. So that it's, chemicals, we buy them in bulk, but we dose very small amounts into the water in accordance with the, standards and regulations. So it's really chemicals we use at the treatment plant to treat the water. So I think, yeah.
It's just like you see things online and then you try to find, I try to like associate them with the budget.
Okay.
And I guess, yeah. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, any other questions for Dan? Well, thank you very much for coming, Dan.
Yeah, anytime, yeah. Feel free to reach out, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, or,
Sorry.
oh,
We were going to follow up with Barbara on that topic, right? You wrote
yes,
that down?
yeah, I've got a note here, to send Barbara an email about the
Okay.
enterprise funds and the,
Thanks.
this is on my, when I dropped the minutes off. So these are my follow-up pile. Okay, I've got a line item here for, the next item is for the budget FY 2026 updates. What I did was, you'll see there was a email that Robert sent us a week ago or so on just on the budget. So technically, we're at draft number 2, but I was just touching base with Robert, and you said that draft number 3 is going to be presented in the next day or week.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, yes, you're going to get the select board and the FinCom, and it'll be posted to the website. We'll get draft 3 tomorrow, and draft 3 is is sort of the final version, subject to 3 things: any changes from the FinCom or the select board, or any last minute sort of minor, adjustments. So you'll get draft 3 tomorrow, and then we're going to use draft 3 for the budget public hearing next Wednesday at 6. And that's a joint meeting of the FinCom and the Select Board at 6. We'll do a brief presentation on the budget, then open it up to any questions from the board or FinCom, and then the public and all of the department heads will be here.
Okay.
Yep. And I will have hard copies for everybody of draft 3 for Wednesday. But if you need one in advance, come see us.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, good. Thank you, Robert.
Yep.
Okay, so I think that was sort of our update on the budget process. And actually, that's going to lead us into the next item on our agenda schedule next meeting. And you'll see in your packets, I've got our calendar that I've been sort of keeping. So if we can go through that, this will, so if you see here, we've had several meetings so far on our Finance Committee meetings for 2025. We just did we're doing the March 6th meeting tonight. So next Wednesday, March 12th, we will have the public budget forum with the town hall here at Wednesday at 6 p.m. So that will be the next thing on our agenda. And then on March 18th, Tuesday at 6:05 p.m. will be the water, sewer, stormwater, and rates public hearing. So this is the result of the rate review committee's work, and this will be presented to the public. So, Robert, are you going to be joining that? And I'll be joining that too as members of the rate review committee. Okay. So then the next Thursday after that, March 20th, will be our next regular meeting. We're going to have the police department presentation, and we can also discuss a little bit more about the budget. I will add that to the agenda, because then our next regular meeting would be March 3rd, but what I have on our April 3rd, right, excuse me. But we have the joint meeting with the select board on April 1st. So what I am proposing is that we will have a Thursday night Finance Committee meeting on March 27th, where we review and approve the annual town meeting warrant. Okay, so we'll add that. And then the next Tuesday will be May. God. Go that way. We're going to hit the middle here. April 1st, Tuesday. Joint meeting with Select Board, and we will go over, review, and approve the annual town meeting. And then that Thursday would be our next regular meeting. I was going to tentatively put that on hold. I think we've yeah, exactly. So we'll put that off. Then I thought our next meeting will be the 17th. We'll have that, and we'll follow up on any final budget items, and then we'll end the month of April with April 28th, the annual town meeting on Monday. So
Exciting stuff.
it doesn't get much better. So, okay. I think that's everything that I have. Any other items we want to add or note?
Nothing
Okay.
from me.
Any other public comments? Okay.
Sarah left.
Yes. All right. So I think we've covered most everything.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Today's my day.
All those in favor will adjourn the meeting?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Meeting is adjourned as 7:05 p.m.